Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Here we go again. Start off with our cosmic weather for today. Alright, our solar wind is moving pretty good. Hasn't been this high in a little while. 709 kilometers per second. That's blowing pretty good. Our planetary K-index at the moment is quiet. It's a 2. In the next 24 hours, it shouldn't get any higher than a 3, or it's not expected to be. And as you can see here, the coronal hole is still there, the triangle. You can still see the bottom and the side of it. So what's going on with that? Not quite certain, but it is there, and this is a place where solar wind does blow, so that could maybe account for why we have such a high solar wind blowing. And actually it's saying that the solar wind from here wouldn't reach the Earth till the 17th or 18th. So here on the 15th, it's already blowing at 700. So what's it going to be once it gets to that date? The chance for an M-class flare is about 70% today, and an X-class flare about 20%. And then our geomagnetic storms, very, very small, only about 15%, whether you're in the higher or lower latitudes. Now let's go back up here. We have another CME impact that hit the Earth's magnetic field today around 1300 Universal Time. A high latitude magnetic storm might be in the offing. And sun-grazing comet Swan, which dove into the sun's atmosphere during the late hours of March 14th, apparently did not survive in the following 10-hour movie. Comet Swan enters the solar corona but does not exit again. Comet Swan was a Kreutz sungrazer, a fragment of the same ancient comet that produced sun-grazing Comet Lovejoy in December 2011. Comet Lovejoy famously survived its brush with the sun and put on a flamboyant show after it emerged from the solar fire. Alright, and then White Comet Swan, which went through, was cut from the same cloth. It was a smaller fragment and completely evaporated. Alright, now moving on to our astrological for today. Our sun sign is still in Pisces. However, that's going to be changing in the next few days. It's going to go from Pisces into the next sign, which would be Aries. However, we are still at Pisces to the end of it. And Pisces, remember, is a water sign, so we're dealing with issues that are water related. Water related issues are emotional issues. Emotional issues, feelings, love, how things flow. So that's important. Every energy flows, and so understanding how energy flows in and around us, through us, is all very important to understand. So our conscious mind is dealing with that, while our unconscious mind, as you could see, is in between signs. In between Sagittarius, and this little one here is Capricorn. So we're in between the Sagittarius and the Capricorn. One's a fire sign, one's an earth sign. Capricorn's the earth, Sagittarius is the fire. So we're kind of in between those two phases right now. Unconsciously, fire and earth. So let's pay attention to how we mix those things together. And of course, none of this is brain surgery. We've all been around long enough to know about fire, water, air, and earth. And we all understand the different ways that these energies work together and when you put them together. So if you got fire, for example, we got water, which is our conscious mind. The unconscious mind is bubbling underneath it. Well, underneath we have fire. What happens when you put fire under a pot of water? The water starts to boil, right? Or the water can get warm if you don't put the fire too high. If you have earth and water, you got a situation that could make mud. But with the right mixture, you could make something that could be more useful. So those are the ways to look at these energies, to see how they operate together. Now that's the very basics of it, but really with all of these sciences, it's about the basics. All the other stuff that gets really overcomplicated, it's very good, but the basics is the most important, because not everybody's going to be knowing every single little detail. It's not necessary, because we have to live our lives not ruled by these things, but just understanding the basics of how these energies are affecting us and what energies we are working with. Alright? Now, moving on to our moon phase. So you could see we are only 33% of the way full. We've moved down. We're on our way back down to a new moon again. Goes quick, doesn't it, these cycles? New moon, full moon, new moon, and back again. And we've been doing this cycle over and over and over for many, many, many thousands of years. On the Dreamspell, we're at a 4-tone day, 4 dots, 4th position. The kin for today, right here, is the World Bridger. It's the one right in the middle. And the guide for the day, the same color, is the White Wind. And then the supporting cast members around it. You got the Warrior, you got the Skywalker, and you got the Eagle. Altogether, the phrase for today is I define in order to equalize measuring opportunity. I seal the store of death with the self-existing tone of form. I am guided by the power of spirit. And on the Gregorian calendar, it is Thursday, March 15th, 2012. Now, if you are at firstcontactradio.com, on the right-hand side of the page, you'll see a Dreamspell widget. It's a little different than this one right here, but it contains all of the information about each and every one of these glyphs and the different 13 tones, so you can understand what their meanings and the definitions behind each of them are. And those are the actual terms that are used in putting together this phrase. So it all ties together. It makes a real simple understanding of how things are moving and the way that we're moving. Again, the idea of all of this is not to rule over our lives in any way. Anyone who thinks that is misunderstanding the purpose. The purpose is simply like a weather report, to understand what are the energies at work during the course of the day so you know how to work with them. It's like if you looked out and you saw it was raining, you take an umbrella. If you saw it's hot, you would leave your coat behind. Just like that. That's all it is, looking at weather from another perspective. And there you go. That's our cosmic weather for today. Next up, Dirk Bradshaw is with us today, and he has a story. You've heard about this, the Kony 2012 story, the big hoax propaganda they're trying to put on the American people to engage us in another war, the one that these Hollywood celebrity types are out there supporting because, well, Hollywood celebrity types a lot of times just support where the money is. It's sad to say, but that is how Hollywood operates. There's money, people go where the money is. They'll say what they say, actors get scripts, and they say what the script says. That's it. Like monkeys on a string or puppets on a string. They just say the words that are given to them. And in the course of that, because they're working with networks and organizations that are politically motivated, these actors that go out there and say these lines for money, they'll just say anything for money. Because for them, it's just about the money. It's just a job. I've heard that saying over and over. It doesn't matter. It's just a job. Unfortunately, in their doing their job and saying the things they say, they show support for things that necessarily aren't best for the American people. So it would be nice, I always think, and I always challenge people out here, it's nice when actors and actresses and producers and directors take a little bit more insight into what they're doing rather than just spitting anything that the industry wants them to spit out, but actually is a bit more responsible in what they're doing. And as you can see, when that is done, it is done very well, and it makes quite an impact and a great message for the world. So anyway, this Kony 2012 is one that people have gotten behind. It's a big propaganda piece for another war. I'm going to let you hear what it's all about. Dirk, over to you.
If you ask our leaders today, this is what they will say. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. What's up with their lives?
Flying high above the planet Earth, this is the Cosmic News with Dirk Bradshaw. I am Dirk Bradshaw. More than 60 million people have viewed this film. made by American charity called Invisible Children, about the plight of children in Uganda at the hands of the warlord Joseph Kony, the leader of the Lord's Resistance Army guerrilla group. His group is said to have abducted 60,000 children. With its slick Hollywood production values, the film has been an almost instant viral success, dominating Twitter worldwide and having one of the fastest ever takeoffs on YouTube. And millions of people now know something about Uganda and what is happening to the children there. Support for the campaign to end the conflict in the country this year is spreading. But it has also attracted a lot of criticism. There are questions about the charity's funding, its targeting of U.S. leaders instead of African leaders to instigate change, and the accusation that it is failing to criticize the Ugandan government with its poor human rights records. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Cosmic News Network investigates Kony 2012. Here is R.A. Grimes with the whole story.
I do not doubt for a second that those involved in Kony 2012 have great intentions, nor do I doubt for a second that Joseph Kony is a very evil man. But despite this, I'm strongly opposed to the Kony 2012 campaign. Kony 2012 is the product of a group called Invisible Children, a controversial activist group and not-for-profit. They have released 11 films, most with an accompanying bracelet color. Kony 2012 is fittingly red. When we buy merch from them, when we link to their video, when we put up posters linking to their website, we support the organization. I don't think that's a good thing, and I'm not alone. Invisible Children has been condemned time and time again. As a registered not-for-profit, its finances are public. Last year, the organization spent $8,676,614. Only 32% went to direct services, with much of the rest going to staff salaries, travel and transport, and film production. This is far from ideal. Charity Navigator rates their accountability 2 out of 4 stars, because they haven't had their finances externally audited. But it goes way deeper than that. The group is in favor of direct military intervention, and their money supports the Ugandan government's army and various other military forces. Both the Ugandan Army and Sudan People's Liberation Army are riddled with accusations of rape and looting, but Invisible Children defends them, arguing that the Ugandan Army is better equipped than that of any of the other affected countries. Although Kony is no longer active in Uganda, and hasn't been since 2006 by their own admission, there is a bevy of books, each refer to the rape and sexual assault at perennial issues with the UPDF. The military group Invisible Children is defending. Still, the bulk of Invisible Children's spending isn't on supporting African militias, but on awareness and filmmaking, which can be great, except that Foreign Affairs has claimed that Invisible Children, among others, manipulates facts for strategic purposes, exaggerating the scale of LRA abductions and murders, and emphasizing the LRA's use of innocent children as soldiers, and portraying Kony, a brutal man, to be sure, as uniquely awful, a Kurtz-like embodiment of evil. He's certainly evil, but exaggeration and manipulation, to capture the public eye, is unproductive, unprofessional, and dishonest. Is awareness good? Yes. But these problems are highly complex, not one-dimensional, and, frankly, aren't of the nature that can be solved by postering, filmmaking and changing your Facebook profile picture, as hard as that is to swallow. Giving your money and public support to Invisible Children, so they can spend it on supporting ill-advised violent intervention and movie number 12 isn't helping. Do I have a better answer? No, I don't, but that doesn't mean that you should support Kony 2012, just because it's something. Something isn't always better than nothing. Sometimes it's worse. If you want to write your senator, or the president or the prime minister, by all means, go ahead. If you want to post about Joseph Kony's crimes on Facebook, go ahead. But let's keep it about Joseph Kony not Kony 2012.
Well, I see the fat lady is getting off the stage. She's looking right at me. I've got to take her home and put her to bed. I hate goodbyes, so instead I'm going to say, until we meet again. I'm Dirk Bradshaw from the Cosmic News Network. I return you now to Joshua Poet and First Contact. They're all yours, Josh. This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much for that report. Let's not forget also that there's the story out there that Kony is actually connected with CIA and Mossad, so something to also consider in the mix. CIA and Mossad and all these organizations, they seem to have their hands in all of these activities that are propagandizing the people, don't they? Anyway, let's get on to our UFO news. First story comes to us from ScottWaringBlogspot.com. We've got a giant black UFO tied to Earth Sun with cord. Now, you remember this one? I showed you this image last week. We saw the video of this disc object. We can definitely see this is a disc-shaped object right here. It's unmistakable. And then this cord came out. And it's kind of, looks sort of like a gas station hose that is going out maybe to fuel the ship here. Okay. There's another good image of it. YouTube user Ismail342 caught this giant orb near the sun with what looks like an umbilical cord from it to the sun. Very unusual for sure. The cloud could be cloaked, mothership being revealed by the sun's rays, and it may be collecting some form of energy from the sun. User Ishmael342 suggests that the sun may be making a new baby-like sun. That is possible, but the object appears black, hidden from our view except for the rays of the sun around it. Without heat, it cannot be a mini-sun. Understand that this UFO would, from its size, would be about 50 to 70 times the size of Earth. That would not be impossible to build if aliens never died of old age and if drone bots did all the construction of it. Also, the giant UFO may have come from the triangle opening on the sun we saw a few days ago. Remember that? Let me just play this here so you can get a little bit of look at what this was about. Alright. So there's the object that we were looking at. And as we move forward through here, still hanging there. At one point it just disappears. Well, there's a different look at it with different imaging. Alright, there was a point when it just completely disappeared. It's not on that video, but we have links up so you can check out some of the previous stories about it. Alright, this next story also from Scott Waring Blogspot. Dark matter is visible around Mars with aliens living within it. Alright, look at all. Okay, let's see. This is a little bit more pixelated image, but you can see there's something going on there. Okay, they're showing this is the Chinese symbol for sun. Alright, it says let's look at the windows in the photo below. Alright, here we go. Look at what R. Petronell discovered around the atmosphere of Mars. He has found a dark matter-like existence of some unknown species. As you can see in the video below, there is a symbol that is there, similar to the Chinese symbol for sun. Do these beings control the sun, or do they admire or need it in some way? I too have discovered this dark matter, and that is a solid. It is solid and has built upon a by God knows what. Haven't you ever wondered why scientists are so excited about dark matter? Now you know. Want to have some real fun? Do this technique with Hubble telescope photos. He says, I went to lighten up the top of the Mars atmosphere photo and came across an unbelievable anomaly. I only brightened it for the video. You can see this photo anywhere. If you search Mars atmosphere, it is very popular. Go ahead and give it a try. The video is short, so stick with it. You will see what I mean. God bless. R. Petronell. Alright, and there's a link there to the raw video. Let me just play this for a little bit so you can see what's going on here. I'm just going to zip through. This is a 7-minute long video. So, the different imagery and things. Alright. This was the object in question with the symbol that's like the glyph for the sun. Alright, there's a lot to this video. I want you to watch it so you can understand what it is. Alright, very interesting indeed. Again, Scott C. Waring, blogspot.com. Our next story. UFO enters atmosphere over Oklahoma, divides into two, startles people. Okay, here's the one image right there. There's one right there. Uh-oh, there's two. I love how the media struggles to identify the things that are unidentified. They grapple at straws from space junk to lighting. Yet in the videos from March 13th, we clearly see that it is neither. The object is not a meteor because it does not have a tail and travels too slowly. Also, the object becomes bright for a split second and divides into two similar glowing objects without any other debris. Okay, let's take a look at what this is here. Let me just jump ahead here. Alright, this is the video. Let's see here. There we go. There's the light there, and boom, it splits for a second. Okay, I skipped ahead of the two comedians trying to discuss what this is and talk about if it's light or meteor, and you know, these guys in the mainstream station. I just got to think that sometimes they seem to be rather clueless, uninformed about anything that's going on in life. I mean, have these gentlemen, people, never heard of UFOs? It just certainly seems that way. Unless, of course, you remember the movie They Live? Remember when you went into the TV stations, it was the aliens, the reptilians that were in the TV station? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe this really is like They Live, and the ones in the station are actually reptilians who don't want you to know about UFOs, so they play this game with you. Just a theory. Just something to think about. Like we don't have anything else to think about, right? Next one, UFOs raining down over Murmansk, Russia. Strange UFO activity was recorded in the sky above Murmansk, a seaport city located in the extreme northwest part of Russia on the Kola Bay. Alright, let's take a look at what we have here. Alright, there's the objects right out there in question. Alright, zip ahead. I'm not sure if I see anything raining down anywhere yet. Alright, well, there's the video for you to look at. I don't know if I necessarily saw anything raining down, but I certainly did see a couple of UFOs in the picture. And our last story, bright UFO caught on tape over Australia. Take a look at this here. Okay, look at that. We've all seen these before. Alright. Just a strange light up in the sky. Okay. Alright. And there you go. That's our UFO news for today. It's time to wake up. I'll be back.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know, so Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
All right. Now, if you notice at the end of that video, there's a bunch of links that are there. Those links are there for you to go check out. All kind of different sources about 9/11 truth. 9/11 truth. It's very important you know. You know, it's important that, people ask me all the time, why do I do this? Why do I go on a show? Why do I go out onto the internet and put this information out there that is controversial? Why do I say the things I say that are, speaking against the atrocities that are going on? It's because someone has to do it. I know that there are lots of others out there doing this as well. I'm not the only one, thank goodness, because that would be way too much to deal with. It'd be way too much for anyone to deal with. We all have to work together on this, and we have to rise above whatever fears we have. Hey, everybody's concerned. We're all concerned about what's going on in the world. But to sit and do nothing doesn't do anybody any good. So we have to speak up and rise above our fears. And if we rise above our fears, we encourage other people to do the same thing. There's been others that have encouraged me in the same way that I'm passing that along and encouraging you. We have to be strong and brave, because what's going on is a war on terror. The United States government has decided that they were going to go and they were going to terrorize the American people with the term, the war on terror, to get them to believe that there were threats everywhere that they had to pay attention to. There are threats everywhere. Yet we've lived in a world for a long time where there weren't all those threats, but now we've become fearful. And in fear, what is fear? False expectations appearing real. We live in a world filled with false expectations that appear real, because there are too many people buying into the fears. And when people buy into the fears, then there's a problem. Especially when the people aren't using their intelligence because they're too brainwashed by what's going on. Now, you and I know a lot of people like that, don't we? I mean, you're here listening because you're open-minded. But there's a lot of folks out there, for every one of us, I don't know the statistics, but there's got to be, 5 to 10 people for every one of us that's out there that is misinformed about what's going on in the world and will fight tooth and nail to make their point because they're afraid of the truth. That's why people don't want to know the truth. They're afraid of it. They don't know what to do about it. Or they get scared because somebody else gets a reprimand for speaking the truth. We have to speak the truth. The truth will set you free, and that's what's most important. Speak our truths. Speak about the injustices going on. That's how they will stop. We must all hang together, or we will surely all hang separately. Remember that statement? It's as true now as it was when it was first stated. Now, this next story I'm going to do here is Reverend James David Manning. And his video of his is called I Am Blacklisted. He's been very outspoken. He had the Obama treason trial, which came out with 17 counts of treason against Obama. He has been very outspoken about the Obama administration and the problems that are going on, and as is when someone is out speaking the truth and they start to make big noise about it, there's someone who comes in and they want to try to clamp down on what their numbers are. They try to find a way to keep that information suppressed. So I'm going to play this. I want you to hear it. I want you to hear what Dr. Manning's going through. Here we go. And we're off.
I want you to help me build our audience. As you very well know, I have been blacklisted. No one will come anywhere near me, and that's okay. I mean, I'm not the first person that's been blacklisted, and I'm blacklisted because I tell the truth. Now, people call me Uncle Tom, they call me Uncle Ruckus, they call me Sambo, they call me all kinds of things, but they never call me a liar. They never call me a liar because I tell the truth. I am a truth speaker. They just don't like it. When I speak the truth, they call it hate. So I've been blacklisted. And we all know all the media types have sold out. And by the way, I've spoken very harshly about many of you, and y'all are my friends because you watch, Fox News, and I just have a real problem with that. And I know what that means to you when I speak as I speak, and I would to God I could convince you. It looks like they're going to come down. Rupert Murdoch is finally unraveling over there in the UK. His chief officer has been arrested again, and that organization is unraveling, which means that Fox News here in New York will unravel as well. Bill O'Reilly, pardon me, is unraveling also. Rush Limbaugh is, unraveling. It's all coming apart, and we give God the praise that now this is finally happening, that is taking place. But I have been blacklisted. Nobody will touch me. I mean, I can't even get my voice heard through WorldNet Daily. Nobody will touch me. But what I want to say to you is that you can help. As long as I can talk to you, and as long as I can go to our pulpit and preach, and that's meaningful. And now that we can be heard 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just keep posting us up. But about the blacklisting, don't think to somehow or another I'm this awful person and that I deserve to be blacklisted. I think it was Gandhi that said, and many of a revolutionists have been able to repeat him. Gandhi said this. Gandhi said that at first they ignore you, then they try to destroy you, and then you win. Now, I'm sure Gandhi understood this clearly. I'm sure Dr. King understood it. I'm sure every person that have gone against the establishment with the truth. You're not a part of the good old boys. You're not a part of some sort of a sellout group. You don't turn and wink at sin and corruption going on among your own people. You just tell the flat out truth. The way that people deal with persons such as myself and such as Dr. King and such as Gandhi said it best. Here's what they do. At first, they ignore you. Well, right now, I'm ignored. Everybody ignores me. All the media outlets, newspapers, I don't care what happens. I said how much truth I bring, they completely and wholeheartedly ignore it. But it doesn't mean that I'm not having an effect and an impact. I'm having an impact on them. They listen to what I say. They don't broadcast it, but they listen to it. They monitor it. So I'm having an impact. And I've got millions of people, the Lord has, and you and I together, we are listened to by millions all the time, and everybody knows it. We just are not recognized as being listened to by millions. The other thing that we have to be very much aware of is that YouTube and Google, we have been locked in a fight with them for some time. We want to battle with them over some issues regarding censorship and rights in terms of publishing and things that we've said recently. But I need to also say to you that we don't get a fair count from what we post up, either people that are listening to us right now. The count that shows up is not a true count. The count that shows up on our website is not a true count. That has been manipulated. We've got stuff on our website now that has been there that prevents our numbers from looking impressive because the impressiveness would force the media to say something about it. But that doesn't mean, the one thing that we give God the praise for, they can't stop the signal from going to you. You got to receive the signal. We just don't get the credit. We don't get the count for it. But Gandhi was right. First they ignore you, then they try to destroy you. Well, we are in the ignored stage right now. But what is coming soon is that when the media does come down on me, they're going to try to destroy me. And what Gandhi says, Dr. King and others have said, then we will win. But understand, that's where we are right now. So I'm soliciting your help. I'm soliciting your prayers. We are now broadcasting 24/7. Don't pay any attention to the numbers that are on YouTube or the numbers that are on our website. Don't pay any attention at all to that. Just keep listening as long as I can still reach you. Our information gets sent out. I was talking with Mike Master over dinner last night. And once we do an interview with Mike Master, we send him the link. Then he sends the link to several of his friends who have very large and very well-watched YouTube stations and media outlets themselves, to the tens of thousands. But not one click comes back to us. We don't get one click of the benefit of the tens of thousands of the interviews that we do with Mike Master that he sends out to all of his associates. But that's okay. That's all right. The numbers are not important as long as we are being heard. We're being heard now. They are ignoring us. But soon they're going to try to destroy us. And that's where the real fight will begin. But I'm asking you, just keep praying for us. Listen to the Manning Report. Take some time and begin. If you listen to us, start listening to us on Saturday night. Listen to us on Sunday morning. Listen to us while you're driving in the car. Listen to us while you're doing your exercise. Listen to us when you're working around the house or riding on the bus. Listen to us, and you're going to discover that listen to the program this way in looping is really a very positive thing. And I say jokingly that listening to us while you're driving makes the drive go better and safer. Well, it really does. It really, really, really does. So there you have it. At first they ignore you. And that's what they're doing right now. They're ignoring everything I say. And this is ridiculous that no one picks up on this and promotes it further or even engages me and say that I'm lying. Say that you're lying on Obama. Say that you're lying on the CIA. Say that you're lying. They won't even do that because they know they can't stand that. They will not be able to stand up against me. They can't debate me. They can't refute me. They have to ignore me. That's their only option right now until they find that ignoring is not working. They've got to try to destroy. At that point, we win. I'm James David Manning. Listen to the Manning Report and tell all your friends. Email them everything that I do, everything that I post up. Engage your friends. Engage your enemies. Engage everybody to listen to the Manning Report.
Very good. We got the Manning Report right there, so definitely check that out. I'm going to see if I can get Dr. Manning back on the show again. He was on before. We had a great interview just before we went into the Obama treason trial, and it's been a while, so I'm going to get him back, and we're going to have another talk. All right, our next story here, the vaccine police. State is exposed. Know your rights. Again, knowing your rights is very important. Knowing your rights is very, very important. See, if you don't know your rights, then you don't know what you're losing. It's like the Constitution. A lot of people don't know what the Constitution is. They don't know what's in the Bill of Rights. So therefore, they don't know when something is being taken away from them. And they just go about life thinking that everything is A-okay until something happens and they're just clueless. You don't want to be caught like a deer in the headlights. You want to make sure you know your rights in all situations. And this is definitely one of them. Vaccines. Okay, goes on to say, this is from the Intel Hub. Goes on to say, Alan Phillips, J.D., attorney and counselor at law, joins the Intel Hub news brief to discuss the truth about vaccines and the vaccine police state that is being set up throughout the country. Many so-called experts and doctors have called for mandatory vaccines as well as mandatory testing on citizens of a possible new vaccine. That's right, the WHO, the UN, and Big Pharma are actively promoting toxic vaccines and attempting to make them mandatory for all citizens of the world. Can you say Nazi Germany, folks? Think about that. Remember what they did on the people? It wasn't vaccines. They just stuck them in a big room and hit them with a chemical spray. But now they're more sophisticated with the vaccines, and they set it up in a situation that people are just going to march right in to get those. People, you better pay attention. You better pay attention. That's all I'm saying. Sadly, these vaccines are also being pushed onto pregnant women at a startling rate when you consider that no vaccine trials tested the dangers of using them on pregnant women. The herd immunity theory is also discussed in great detail, as it has already been thoroughly debunked but still used by vaccine pimps to push their toxic concoctions. Allen also discusses the real reasons behind the World Health Organization's declaration of a pandemic level 6 and how it initiated a contract clause with the vaccine makers that enabled them to make billions of extra dollars by selling an extraordinarily amount of vaccines. So, very dangerous situation, folks. Pay attention. Indeed. Now here's something else the big pharma wants to push. This is from Paul Joseph Watson over at InfoWars. As part of the headlong rush towards a brave new world society, the establishment is feverishly pushing pharmaceutical drugs that chemically castrate an individual's aberrant thoughts, with the latest proposal claiming that people can be given a drug to cure racism. That's right, folks. All you need is a pill, and that'll cure your racist problems, along with any other probably thinking that's going on in your head as well. A study conducted by Oxford University experimental psychologist Dr. Sylvia Terbeck into the heart disease drug Propanol, published in the journal Psychopharmacology, found that the drug may have unusual side effects of combating racism. Volunteers given the beta blocker used to treat chest pains and lower heart rates scored lower on a standard psychological test of implicit racist attitudes. Reports to Telegraph, they appear to be less racially prejudiced at a subconscious level than another group treated with a dummy placebo pill. Basically what they're doing is they're dumbing folks down. I bet if they asked them questions that weren't racist related, that were just about life, I bet they would find that there was a more calm-natured response to all of those. That's all they're trying to do, dumb down society by giving you things that you don't need, pills that you don't need, pills that you don't know what's in them. Pharmaceutical companies make them, and people put them in their bodies because the government says you got to take them. But here's the crazy part. People will tell you they don't trust the government, but they will trust the pills that the government tells you you need to take. Figure that one out, huh? That's a real head scratcher, I'm telling you. All right, next story up here. We haven't had Charlie McGrath on for a while. So today is that day, talking about moral collapse. Definitely have that problem indeed. So let's listen to what Charlie has to say.
My name is Charlie McGrath. I'm the founder of WideAwakeNews.com and a host on the Rinse Radio Network. I'm also a father who's not willing to put his kid into a meat grinder so we can protect the status quo, so we can allegedly spread democracy to regions of the world who absolutely are ready to pull the trigger on any American that they see. Now, if you might think that sounds unpatriotic, you might think that sounds over the top, but let's look at where we're at. Today, we had Leon Panetta, our defense secretary, have to fly to Afghanistan to buck up the morale of the troops. But before we could talk to him, they had to take the weapons away from all the troops. Why is that? Well, it might be because we've been fighting that war longer than any war in the history of this country, and we're starting to see our troops completely lose their mind. Over the last year, look at what we've had. We've had soldiers urinating on dead bodies. We're burning Korans, and now we have a soldier who had a major head injury 2 years ago in Iraq on his second tour of combat duty. Now on his fourth tour, completely loses his mind and murders a bunch of civilians in Afghanistan. Every time we see one of these incidents, we see pushback from these people. And we need to understand something. They're not the enemy because they're looking for blood now. If you would have been born the year we invaded Afghanistan, you're just the right age to pick up an AK-47 and look for some payback. This is what's going to occur throughout the Middle East, throughout the North, throughout North Africa, because we cannot stop empire building until the people of this country wake up and realize that people like Senator John McCain, Lindsey Graham, that are begging for more and more war, they're leading us to a future that truly does have enemies that want to come over here and destroy us. But it isn't to come over here and take our freedom and take our liberty. It's to come over here and look for justice from what we've done inside their nations. We're going to be asked to go to war inside of Syria. We're going to be looking for international support in order to go overthrow their government. And then we're going to be asked to do the same thing inside of Iran. We must realize that it's nothing but a con game in order to protect the status quo, to keep a few people in New York City, in the city of London, and Washington, D.C., fat and happy and in power. We need to stand up and say enough is enough. There is no more blood for oil or blood for treasure or blood for whatever. If you want to spend your blood, Washington, D.C., New York City, City of London, you go over and fight these battles. It's enough American men and women being butchered, and it's enough citizens of this planet dying in the name of spreading democracy. Stories are attached. That's all I got.
All right, very good. Here's a question for you. Knowing what you know about John McCain, if you happened to be a troop and you found him in a prison camp, would you have left him there? Or would you have brought him home, knowing that when you brought him home, he was going to be introducing bills and laws to put you in prison camps as well? I think I would have left the guy there. He doesn't seem like a very American kind of guy. He seems really un-American for a guy that's been through all of what he supposedly went through. All right, here we go. This is the TSA. Now, we don't know if we can believe them, but we'll give it a shot here. TSA says it will stop groping grannies. Double dose of radiation for seniors will allow them to avoid pat-downs. This is from Steve Watson over at InfoWars. Reeling from recent fresh backlash, the TSA says it is relaxing security procedures for over 75. Especially Big Sis has promised to stop feeling up grandma at the airport. According to reports, new TSA rules will allow the elderly to keep a shoes and jacket, and agents will be advised to avoid carry out pat-downs unless absolutely necessary. The move comes in the wake of several incidents involving TSA agents subjecting elderly people to strip searches, colostomy bag inspections, and adult diaper investigation. Of course, this also means that instead of being groped, if she sets off an alarm, grandma could be sent through a full-body scanner and fired with another dose of ionizing radiation. The agency says it will deploy more agents to visually analyze passengers and determine whether they qualify the less strict screening method. TSA claims a new policy represents a move away from a one-size-fits-all approach to security toward intelligence-driven and risk-based security models. Well, that sounds like an oxymoron. TSA and intelligence, I don't think those two coexist. This agency, I'm telling you, at least they say they're going to try to stop. You know, what's going to happen if in years from now it's discovered that all of the people that went through these radiation scanners come up with some kind of cancer? How upset are you going to be if you were one of those who walked through that machine numerous times? Especially when you think back of all the warnings that were you given. Isn't that going to be a shame, and won't that be too late? Just something to think about. All right. This next story here is about Ron Paul, candidate that is speaking the truth out there. Let's listen to what this is going to say.
Dr. Paul joins us this morning from his home state of Texas. And Dr. Paul, thank you for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
Big day today. We do have a couple of more primaries coming up. And how do you expect that you'll fare in the South today?
Well, in the South, we don't expect to do a whole lot, but in the far West, we expect to do better, and that's in Hawaii. That's where we put a little bit of energy and investment into it.
And you have come through this, and you continue to pick up ground. You continue to win votes. My question is, you are probably not going to be the one who wins the nomination in the end if things continue at this pace. What do you hope to do with your candidacy, and how long will you pursue this?
Well, there's four of us in the race, and of course, Romney looks like he's ahead, but he's far from having it won.
That's true.
So there's a lot of talk about a brokered convention. So with the enthusiasm and support of a whole generation of individuals, you know, I feel obligated to stay into it until we decide who's going to be the nominee.
Well, if it went to a convention, do you think it would be one of the four of you who's still in the race?
Oh, I would think so, but I know there's some that would like to change that and sort of cancel out a year and a half of campaigning. Some of the people in the leadership of the party, you know, sometimes don't like what you're saying, and sometimes the leader party don't like a lot of young people coming in and taking over the party, so they rather resent newcomers into the party, and I think that's what has happened to us. There's a lot of resentment of new people coming in, and there's a lot of fighting going on with leadership in the various states with young people coming in and wanting to participate.
You've done a phenomenal job of tapping the young vote. How do you think you've done that?
I really don't know. I didn't start off and say, oh, you know, philosophy and my age will mean that the young people are going to support me. No, I just talk about what I think is important, what I've done for 30 years. You know, the sound money issue, following the Constitution, personal liberty is something that other Republicans never talk about. Young people like that, and the young people really resent the fact that these wars are perpetual. They're paying for the past wars. There's a lot of debt, and it looks like they won't end. That is one of the big issues that they talk about when I talk to them on a personal level of why they like what I'm doing.
Uh-oh, a few little glitches there in the Ron Paul talk. So Ron Paul's in it to the end, you know. He's doing what he's got to do, and he's playing his part, and it's a big part, and we need to support that. All right, now we've got a problem, right, with our economy, with our debt. But hey, check this out. Doesn't stop Obama from going and spending $500,000 to go to see a basketball game. Obama, the man who isn't an American, who doesn't have the ideals of an American, who thinks there's 57 states in the country, well, he just went with Cameron and spent $478,000 to go attend a basketball game. That's a slap in the face to all Americans. All Americans that are struggling out there. $478,000. That's the cost of the use of Air Force One for 2 80-minute flights for the U.S. President and the British Prime Minister to Dayton, Ohio, and back to Washington, D.C. at a cost of $179,750 per flight hour. When you factor in the additional expense of Marine One, helicopter flights from the White House to Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland, as well as the security on the ground in Ohio, White House advanced teams and Air Force cargo planes to carry the presidential motorcade, and a total figure is far greater. In an age of austerity, this is a significant amount of taxpayers' money to spend in attending a college basketball game between Mississippi Valley State and Western Kentucky, especially when tens of thousands of millions of Americans are unemployed and facing financial hardship. It is more than 11 times the average annual salary of an American worker, which currently stands at $41,673. And is symbolic of a big government mentality in Washington that has led to the largest budget deficit since World War II. Again, Obama's a criminal. He's a thug. He's in the office and he doesn't care. If he cared, he would stay at home, put on the big screen, and watch the game for free. But instead, he has to go there in person to make his stand and presence known, because he's such a big basketball fan, can't be bothered to address some of the important issues of the world. But hey, Obama can be there every March to pick the basketball. You know what? Maybe we should give him his due on that one, because maybe picking basketball is really the only thing that this man is actually good at. Maybe that's why he loves it so much. Maybe he knows he's such a fraud and such a horrible manager of this country. Maybe this is the one thing he's good at. Maybe after this he'll just go into basketball. Maybe that's his calling. And our last story here today is heavy weather, damaging winds, and so on that are taking place. This is Dutch Sins, and his reports are always informative. Here we go.
Hey everybody, Dutch Sense here. 8:03 a.m. Central Time on Thursday, March 15th, 2012. We're looking at a telecast here. I have the Continental Radar View turned on, plus Titan Storm Tracking, which is a computer detection of what's going on inside each individual cell. Also, let's go ahead and turn on the National Weather Service alerts. And you can see all these blue boxes are computer detection of hail. And let me zoom it in here. You can get a real good idea of what's going on here. Basically from the Great Lakes, all the way south through Kentucky, into Tennessee, west through South Indiana, and going into southeast Missouri, there's a series of strong cells breaking out. They started last night, going into today, and it looks like it's going to break out into more severe weather. Now let me just turn off storm tracking here really quick and just show you how strong this is. This is heading from East Kentucky into West Virginia right now, and it's very intense. You can see, of course, turn this back on, multiple detections of hail, and that strong convection that may produce tornadoes at any time, for sure damaging winds. And same thing's going on in South Indiana, heading towards Cincinnati, up towards Wilmington, and then southeast Missouri, heading east-northeast towards Mount Vernon, Illinois. So just if you live in the Midwest to the northeast, today, be aware, guys. It looks like it's going to head right towards Washington, D.C., down towards Richmond, Virginia. So north end, we'll just get some thunderstorms. South end's going to get pretty heavy here in just a little bit once the daytime kicks in. Okay? Let me know if you hear anything, guys. Cheers.
All right, very good. One thing about Dutch Since's reports is they're pretty darn accurate. If you've been paying attention to what he's been portraying, he's really good at spotting the heart patterns and the signatures that are going on, the scalar squares. He's really good at pointing out ahead of time where there's going to be some bad weather based on the signatures of these harp rings and the scalar squares and so on. And he has gone on time and time again and pinpointed exact locations and areas where these storms are going to hit, and within a period of 24 to 36 hours after he makes his predictions, there'll be a storm to hit right in that area. So he's really good. I know that they've tried to marginalize him and keep his hits and numbers down because he's really touching on something very truthful, especially when it gets into this harp situation that's going on. So, all right. Now, with all the troubles in the world, let's chill out. Let's take a few minutes, close things out with a prayer and a meditation. Here we go. All right. I would like you just to imagine that you're out in the middle of a field on a beautiful day. Not a cloud in the sky. Nice gentle breeze is blowing. And I want you to imagine yourself there, getting down on your knees, folding your hands in prayer, and looking to the sky. And as you do, I want you just to say a little prayer for the earth, for healing for the earth. Let us pray that the earth is able to find the healing energy. And let us pray that beings upon the earth are able to understand the healing that is necessary and do all that they can to help heal the earth. Let us pray that we find a way to step away from all of the challenges and problems that create more problems and challenges. Let us pray that we open our minds and our hearts to the love that's all around us. And let us pray that each and every day we have an opportunity to share good thoughts with our friends, our families, our loved ones. Let us pray that we remain strong in our convictions and that we remain strong in faith, so that whatever trials and challenges we face, we are able to face these with the strength of God, with the armor of God, and with the truth of God. And let us know that if we approach all endeavors with this attitude, that we shall overcome whatever challenges and problems we face, and we shall rise above. That is our destiny, my friends. Let us just pray that everyone in the world today has a good, safe, healthy, productive day. That everybody has an opportunity to grow. Let us imagine that as we pray, Our hearts become filled with an energy, and our bodies become filled with energy. And this energy helps to clear out all of the darkness that may have attached itself to us. And as all of the darkness that was attached releases, let's imagine ourselves floating off of the ground. Lighter, freer, stronger. Let's imagine all of our chakras are activated from the bottom of the spine all the way up to the top of the head. Starting with the color red at the bottom of the spine, orange above it at the belly button, yellow just below the rib cage, green at the heart chakra, blue at the throat, violet at the third eye, and indigo at the crown chakra. Let's imagine ourselves connected to all that is, was, and ever shall be, and honor our connection. And last, let's once again think of good thoughts for everybody in the world today. And with that, we'll bring our energy and attention back to the present moment, and we'll do so on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. There you go. Open your eyes, my friends. Relax. Go out and have a great day. Much love and light to all of you. I know we're going through some tough times. I know we're going through some times that are kind of dark. But if we shine our light will shine so bright in the darkness that we will dissipate the darkness that is around us. And then we'll really be able to see clearly what's going on. That's what I got today. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Till then, be safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.